Hi guys, this is Avinash Sharma, and in this session we will discuss approval process in the Power Automate. What is the approval process and how to use it? We will check with this approval process with the example. What is the approval process? Approval process is a type of business process, or we can say it's a decision or authority. Authority or approver which can reject or approve any kind of information, any kind of invoice, a request, or a application in a business process. Now we check the approvals elements. First of all, submission of the documents. Submission of documents means like a request, a invoice, a information, or any task. This is submitted to the approver, or this is assigned to a approver or authority. Then approver review that one and has right to approve or reject that one. Then fourth one is the permission level. For the different type of users, we can set the different type of permission level. And fourth one, due dates. For decision making, approve or reject, there should be a deadline for that one. Say 3 days, 4 days. And finally, log file. Outcome of the approval, reject or approve. It should be maintained somewhere or a log file. Now we can check the example of the approval process with this diagram. Step 1. There is a format, pre-formatted application for taking the leave. Suppose an employee or company wants to take a leave, then that employee has to submit this form with some information like the name of the employee, employee ID, mobile number, reason for leave, and date for leave. In second step, we can grab the information submitted by this form. You can design this form in a MS form. In third step, approval process start. It means that process is assigned to some authority, and that authority has to right to reject or approve that application. So in both cases, reject or approve, information will be sent to the applicant with the outcome of the approval, say reject or approve. And finally, we can maintain the details of the applicant and the outcome of the approval in a log file. For creating the approval, what kind of action we can take? We can check with this table. First of all, create an approval. If we select this one, then it means it starts an automated approval process but does not wait for the approval to complete. So automatically it completes the process. And approval is cancelable. It means before completing the process you can cancel this process. Second one, start and wait for an approval. If you select this option, then the process will wait for the approval's decision, rejection or approval. Then third one, start and wait for an approval, and the fourth one, start and wait for an approval or reject. The both are the deprecated. And the finally, wait for an approval. In this process, the process waits for the approval's decision or approval's response, reject or approve. Now, we can check some terms generally which are used in the approval process. First of all, form ID. That is the unique identifier of the MS form and it is generated by the system. Then response ID, again unique identifier of the response generated by the system. So through this response ID we can access the information from the form. Then approval types. While deciding the type of the approval, we can select the following. The first one, approval reject, everyone must approve. Suppose there are multiple approvers. It means the task or the application has been assigned to the multiple approval. So to complete the process, all approvals must say it's approved. Or even one approval say no, it's rejected. Then process does not complete. It means it is rejected. The next one, approval reject, first to respond. It means if there are multiple approvals and anyone respond to the application, then process is considered as complete. It means it is approved. The next one, custom response. Rather than approve or reject, we can use the custom response. Wait for all response. It means all approvals must respond to the complete the process. Then next one, custom response, wait for one response. In case of the multiple approvals. So if any approvals respond, then the process is considered to be complete. Before we start the practical of the approval flow, first of all we check our resource. We have a MS form. In this form we have a employee ID, employee name, email ID, reason for leave and leave date, and that is the leave application format. And we have the Google Sheet. In Google Sheet, we have the employee ID, employee name, email ID, reason for leave, leave date, and the leave status. So whenever the like that form is submitted, it means the details of the employee and the reason for the leave is submitted. We will store that information in this Google Sheet. And we have an additional column, that is the status, leave status. So by default, it would be hold, and after the decision of the approval, rejection or approval, that status would be updated by the system. Now we will check practically how to create the leave application of approval flow. So first of all, create, then automated cloud flow. Name of the flow, leave application flow, then triggers. So the first step is whenever the like form MS form is submitted. As we discussed, already we have a MS form, and in that form we have some details. So when that form is submitted, so trigger is when a new response is submitted from the MS form. So select this one, then create. So we have a step, and this step requirement is which form, that is the form ID. So pick a form, and so we have the list of the multiples MS form. So we have to pick this one, leave application format. Now the first step is complete. Now the new step or next step, after submission of the form, we have to grab the information from the that form. So new step is MS form, Microsoft Forms, and we have only one trigger, get response details. Select this one. So in this step, we have two requirements, the form ID and the response ID. For the form ID, again you can select from the list, leave application format, the same, and the response ID. This is the ID. On the basis of this ID, we can access or we can grab all the information from that form which has been submitted by the employee. So response ID, it is generated by the system. So we can take it dynamically. This is the response ID. So second step is complete now. Now the third step or the new step. In this step, we will maintain the entries of the employee who submitted the form in a Google Sheet. Then new step, Google Sheet, and in the Google Sheet we have insert a row, trigger action, then pick a file. In this step we have the two requirements, the name of the file and the worksheet name. So if we check the name of the leave sheet and then leave Google Sheet. So pick a file from the Google Drive. So connection is already there. Now leave Google Sheet, this one, and the worksheet name, that is the leave sheet. So once the selection is over, then these are the like fields name from our Google Sheet, employee ID, EMP name, email ID, then reason for leave, leave date, and leave status. Okay, employee ID, if you click here, then add dynamically, and these fields are coming from the MS form. So we have to map these fields. For employee ID, from EMP name, employee name. For email ID, reason for leave, then leave date, and finally leave status. So for the leave status, there is no field in the MS form. So we can type hard code here, hold. So whenever like the form is submitted by the employee for seeking the leave, then that entry is inserted in our Google Sheet with status hold. Now, new step or next step, approval. New step, then approvals. So already we discussed the actions. Create an approval, start and wait for an approval. So we'll take this one. Now, approval type. So already we discussed that one. We have the approval reject. Everyone must approve. Second one, approve, reject, first to respond. So we'll take this first to respond. It means any approval can reject or approve. So then title. In title, say request for leave by, and you can mention the name, employee name, then assign to. This is the email ID of the approver. So I'm taking this email ID avinash.sharma@lotusimage.com. It's a different domain, and here you can mention the multiple email ID of the approvers. This approver has right to reject or approve the leave of the employee. Okay. Then details, say please approve my leave on, then you can mention the date, leave date. Then item link. In this item link, suppose you have some attachment or like some object or some image. The first of all, the approval must check that object with this link. So whenever like the mail is sent to the approver, this link is also is attached with the mail to the approver. So first of all, approval click that link and check or review the attachment or image, whatever it is. Then he can decide reject or approve. Then item link description. You can mention the description of the items you attach. You provided the link for that. So this step is complete now. Now the next step, the decision taken by the approver. Reject or approval. It means we need a condition. So new step, then control and a condition. So condition is if approved then yes, if not approved means reject then no. So choose a value, that is the outcome of the approval, is equal to say approve. Then if yes, so in case of the approve, then update the details of the employee leave in the Google Sheet. Google Sheet and update row. So pick the same Google Sheet and leave sheet row ID. So this is the Power Apps ID. This is the unique ID for the each and every row generated by the system in the Google Sheet. So we can check this one. If we check the Google Sheet, so there is a additional column that is the Power Apps ID. So whenever like you add the data in this Google Sheet, the system will generate a ID, unique ID for this row. Now, employee ID, we need to update only the status. So we can skip employee ID, employee name, email ID, and other fields. So leave status, say outcome. Outcome of the approval. Now, in case of the reject, do the same thing. Google Sheet, update row, same Google Sheet, worksheet, row ID, Power Apps ID. Then we need to update the status only. So we can other fields leave blank. So outcome of status. So this is done now. Now we save this one. Okay. So now we review our flow. First of all, the form is submitted. Then we grab the information from the form and we insert the row in Google Sheet with the status hold. Then approval starts and wait for the decision of the approval, reject or approve. If approved, then we update the status of the leave in the Google Sheet, say approve. And if reject, then we update the status of the leave with the reject. So save. Now we have the message, the flow is ready, and now we test it. The flow is in running mode, and we have another message, that is the to work it, submit a new response. We go to the MS form, employee ID, say 1002, employee name Ajay Gupta, email ID gmail.com, leave, reason, doctor's visit, and the date for the leave. We submit this form and check our flow. So you can observe first three steps have the green tick mark. It means these steps have been completed successfully. Now we check the status, or we check our Google Sheets. Now we have the employee ID 1002, the name of the employee, employee email ID, reason for leave, leave date, and leave status, that is the hold. And this is the unique ID for this row. Now, so according to this flow, the flow is waiting for the response from the approval. A mail has been sent to the approval, that is the avinash.sharma@lotusummit.com. So we check that mail on that domain. So now we have a mail from the Ajay Gupta, request for leave. Select this one, then message, please approve my leave, doctor, this one. Then say approve. Once you approve, then we have the details. And here we have options. Choose your response, approve, reject, or reassign. Then say approve and confirm. It's done. Now we check our flow. So you can see all steps are now green mark. It means our flow has been run successfully. Now we check the status of this employee leave in Google Sheet. This is the approve. Now suppose you want to intimate the employee or applicant about the status of the leave, say reject or approve. Then you can send email to the applicant, and you can add one more action, say update row, then add an action, say Gmail, and send email. Then to email ID, the email ID of the employee mentioned in the form. Then subject, outcome of the approval, reject or say approve. Then body, responsible. So this is how you can intimate to the applicant about the status of the leave. And you can do the same thing in case of the reject. So this is how you can create a approval flow. So guys, this was all about the how to create the approval flow. Thanks for watching the video.